Most modern gardens look productive on the surface. Leaves are green, beds are neatly mulched, fertilizers are applied on schedule, and growth appears controlled. Yet beneath that tidy appearance, soil microbes are quietly starving. This starvation doesn't come from neglect, it comes from systems designed to bypass them. Modern gardening often removes the very conditions microbes evolved to depend on, replacing living relationships with short-term fixes. Once you understand how this happens, it becomes clear why so many gardens feel dependent, fragile, and endlessly demanding despite constant care. Soil microbes were never meant to live on fertilizer alone. Bacteria and fungi do not feed on nutrients the way plants do. They feed on carbon, sugars, and complex organic compounds released by roots and decomposing matter. In healthy soil, plants leak sugars through their roots to attract microbes. In return, microbes unlock minerals and protect roots from disease. Modern fertilizer-heavy systems interrupt this exchange. When plants receive nutrients directly, they reduce sugar release into the soil. Microbes lose their food source, populations shrink, and soil biology slowly collapses, even though plant growth continues temporarily. The shift from root-fed systems to bottle-fed plants. Traditional soils were fed from below by roots and from above by slow decomposition. Modern gardens rely heavily on soluble inputs that dissolve quickly and wash through the soil. These inputs bypass microbial processing entirely. Plants absorb what they can, and any excess nutrients just leach away, leaving microbes inactive. Over time, the soil becomes, well, biologically lazy. Microbes no longer receive steady energy, so their ability to cycle nutrients really declines. The garden becomes dependent on repeated feeding because you see the biological workforce has been completely sidelined. Clean beds create, in essence, empty kitchens for microbes. The modern preference for clean bare beds is, honestly, another major cause of microbial starvation. Fallen leaves, decaying stems, and old roots are often removed in the name of tidiness or disease prevention. But while cleanliness might look responsible, it actually strips microbes of their long-term food supply. In natural systems, organic matter, accumulates continuously. Decomposition happens slowly, feeding microbes at a steady pace. When gardens are constantly cleaned, microbes experience these feast or famine cycles that, well, weaken their populations and reduce diversity. Tillage breaks the microbial food web apart. Digging and tilling are often framed as soil improvement, but frequent disturbance, honestly, disrupts microbial networks. Fungal strands are torn, bacterial colonies are scattered, and soil aggregates collapse. Microbes, rely on stable structure to access food and oxygen. When soil is disturbed repeatedly, microbial communities never mature. They remain stuck in survival mode, constantly rebuilding instead of thriving. And over time, fewer microbes are present to process organic matter, which further reduces available food. Mulch without diversity leads to nutritional monotony. Mulching is often promoted as a solution, but not all mulch feeds microbes equally. Single-source mulches, such as wood chips alone or straw alone, provide limited nutrition. Microbes really require diversity to thrive. Different organisms break down different materials at different speeds, so it's important to keep things varied. When mulch lacks variety, microbial diversity declines, and, well, some populations end up starving, while others start to dominate. Balanced soil biology truly depends on a mix of carbon sources, not just a single repeated input. It's all about creating that healthy balance. Water mismanagement, really cuts off microbial access to food. Soil microbes actually require moisture to move, feed, and exchange nutrients. But modern watering habits often swing between extremes. Allowing soil to dry completely, well, it just shuts microbial activity down. Overwatering, on the other hand, drives oxygen out of the soil, killing aerobic microbes. In both cases, microbes lose access to food even if organic matter is present. Consistent moisture is essential for microbial feeding, but honestly, many gardens unintentionally create cycles that starve soil life through dehydration or suffocation. Chemical residues, really disrupt microbial appetite and function. Even when synthetic chemicals are not actively applied, residues tend to linger in the soil from previous seasons, from treated composts, or even from contaminated inputs. These residues interfere with microbial enzymes and their signaling pathways. Microbes may still be present, but their ability to feed and reproduce is, compromised. This creates a situation where the soil might appear alive, but it actually functions quite poorly. Why microbes need plants just as much as plants need microbes? One of the most overlooked aspects of microbial starvation is, honestly, plant behavior. Plants, actually regulate microbial populations through their root exudates. But when plants are stressed, overfed, or poorly rooted, they end up releasing fewer sugars. This, in turn, reduces the microbial food supply. Shallow roots, which are quite common in fertilized soils, really limit the depth and range of microbial activity. When microbes starve, nutrient cycling slows right down. Organic matter starts to accumulate without breaking down properly. Soil structure gets weaker, and water infiltration becomes uneven. Plants might grow quickly, but they lack resilience, flavor, and nutrient density. Plus, disease pressure increases as those beneficial microbes disappear. So what happens is, the garden becomes increasingly dependent on external inputs to compensate for biological loss. This cycle is often mistaken for normal gardening, but honestly, it is a symptom of microbial starvation. Now let's talk about how modern gardens can relearn how to feed soil life. Reversing microbial starvation requires, shifting focus from feeding plants to feeding systems. Roots should really be encouraged to do more of the work themselves. Organic matter, it should be added gradually and just left in place. It's important to minimize disturbance as much as possible. And honestly, diversity should be restored through varied plantings and different kinds of inputs. Water? It really should be managed to maintain a consistent level of moisture. These kinds of changes, they restore the steady carbon flow that microbes absolutely need to survive. Healthy gardens, they're not built on products, they're built on relationships. When soil microbes are fed properly, they return the favor by making nutrients available, protecting roots, and stabilizing soil structure. Once microbial hunger is addressed, gardens become less demanding, more productive, and honestly, far more resilient. That, right there, is when soil stops needing constant intervention and starts functioning as the living system it was always meant to be.